Over 1400 years ago, the Messenger of Allah promised, "If only a day remains of this world, it should be prolonged until God sends a man from my progeny who will govern this earth, eradicate tyranny, and spread it with justice." In the years 255 AH, the world witnessed the birth of the Mahdi, a miraculous moment in an age of tyranny and injustice. With little support and a deteriorating social and political state, the Mahdi, aged 6, was concealed by God away from the public eye in a bid to preserve his life from the continued threat to his life from the tyrants and despots of the time. And we continue to wait in earnest, hoping for the moment the heavenly veil is lifted from between us and the awaited. Today, more than ever before, the affairs of the world are indicating to us the imminence of the great arrival of the Mahdi. The signs leading up to the reappearance of the Mahdi are categorized into two. The Mahtum signs are those which are definitely to occur before the arrival. Signs which are Ghayr Mahtum are defined as conditional. This means that man, to a certain degree, has the ability to determine his outcome through his actions. The signs which are indefinite are typically political and social in nature, such as the general decline of religion within society.
We need to understand and we need to contemplate over the social state and the state of our communities, which has been forewarned and predicted by the Imams, particularly by Amirul Mu'mineen. And perhaps if a person was to reflect over this, he sees that, or he or she will realize that the time in which we are living now is a time which is absolutely crucial, and our actions and our behaviors will determine whether we are part of the army of the Imam and the uprising of the Imam or not, which is an imminent occurrence, inshallah, as we will see within our discussions.
There are traditions that say the economical crisis will be such that people will steal, people will become corrupt, and the corruption will not be seen as corruption. People will see corruption as good and the evil as good and good as evil. The indecency will spread. People will not see indecency as wrong. The traditions have mentioned that Tehran and Isfahan will be some of the worst places to be in. There'll be a lot of hypocrites there. Women and men will be indecent. And some of the best places are also in Iran, like Qom and Taliqan and other places. The best of the believers will be there. And the highest number of supporters of the 12th Imam in terms of high-ranking supporters will also come from Qom. Some have mentioned out of the 313, 38 will be from Qom.
Due to the ghaiba of the Imam and the prolongment of this ghaiba, the state of the communities spiritually and socially have deteriorated to such a manner that people are not only outside the fold of Islam through their actions, but in essence are outside the fold of humanity to begin with. You find that Amirul Mu'mineen points towards this in a khutbah very famously known as Khutbatul Bayan, where he says, إِذَا وَقَعَ الْمَوْتِ فِي الْفُقَهَاءِ وَضَيَّعَتْ أُمَّةَ مُحَمَّدِ الْمُصْطَفَى الصَّلَاةِ وَاتَّبِعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ وَقَلَّتِ الْأَمَانَاتِ وَكَثُرَتِ الْخَيَانَاتِ. Amir al-Mu'mineen says that one of the signs of these communities at the end of the day, the general state of the community, number one is imminent death of the fuqaha. As you know that deaths of the fuqaha, imminent deaths of the fuqaha is a tragedy for the community. Within the hadith we have that for every time a faqih dies or leaves this world, the skies weep 40 days over him. The beacons of guidance and the trustees of the Imam in their ghaiba, the death of every one ul-alim or every one of the mujtahideen and the ulama is a great loss for us. The ummah of Rasulullah will have lost the values of salat. When Amir al-Mu'mineen says that the ummah of Rasulullah has lost the salat, yani, number one, they do not even pray. Yani, if you think about this, the times in which we live, for a person to not recite salat is seen as a very small sin. Unfortunately, is seen as a very minor occurrence, as if he did not even perform a sin to begin with. Yet you find throughout the course of this sermon, companions such as Salman and Hudhayfa, they're surprised. And they say, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, will there truly come a time in the Muslim Ummah where people don't even pray? Person like Salman and Hudhayfa was surprised. Subhanallah, come and look at our communities. Come and look at our own households. We come and we look at our own selves. How important is the institution of salat to us as Muslims and as Shia? This is a time where majority of the people will be followers of their desires. Number one. Number two, وَقَلَّةِ الْأَمَانَاتِ, that the attribute of trustworthiness is going to be an attribute which is absolutely rare. وَكَثُرَتِ الْخَيَانَاتِ, in that khayana, to deceive people, to betray people. Betrayal will be the order of the day.
Lying will become a common thing, and the person who is seen to be the most truthful will be the person who is the most lying. The people the closest to the rulers will be the ones who are against Ahlulbayt.
These are people who do not even condemn acts which are wrong to begin with. They were to commit sins in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those sins are justified. They could be oppressing other nations or other people, but this oppression to them is not seen as anything bad. They fail to see the ugliness of sin and the ugliness of oppression.
Some traditions mention that the last king of Hijaz, which is present-day Saudi Arabia, will be Abdullah. That will have some sort of agreement or acceptability. But once he dies, there will be a dispute in the royal family on the succession of the king. And this will increase and become bigger and bigger until the 12th Imam comes.
The oppressor is somebody who is respected because he has power and he can implement this power on people who are weak. He's seen as somebody that is respected. Everybody respects him for the power that he has. وَالضَّعِيفُ عِنْدَهُمْ هَالِكٌ. Those people who are deemed weak, instead of them being a source of help, they looked at those people who are going to perish. وَالْقَوِي عِنْدَهُمْ مَالِكٌ. The one who is strong is the one who becomes a leader or a ruler in regards to them. In terms that when we say that وَالْقَوِي عِنْدَهُمْ مَالِكٌ, Amir al-Mu'mineen is pointing out to a reality that leadership will be obtained by those people who can afford the means to exercise force in order to maintain power or in order to attain power. If you were to look into current day politics, you find that this is a manifestation of what Amir al-Mu'mineen had forewarned thousands of years ago. He says that the world in itself will be governed by a number of countries that are led by children. Yani the leaders of states or people in positions of authority are children. What is meant by children? Not physical children, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perhaps it could be, but immature people taking positions of leadership. You find they are immature, and hence Amir al-Mu'mineen calls them children.
Drinking and gambling will become common, and people will not see those as in the corruption will be apparent. It will be common, and people will not oppose it.
The youth will deem music to be something that is permissible, whether it is music or what is known as lahu in terms of this entertainments and concerts and whatnot. It's going to be something that's prevalent. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, when you look at these people, when you encounter them within the societies, these are people whose appearances are absolutely beautiful. They go through They would probably go through just about everything and exert utmost effort and pay utmost attention in ensuring that their physical portrayal and their physical attributes are beautiful. But when you look inside them, their hearts are the ugliest of hearts. You find that? I need to ask myself, do I live at a time where people are obsessed with their physical features, looking in a certain way, portraying a certain look or a certain fashion? This obsession with our temporary being at the expense of neglecting the reality of our existence, and this is the soul. وَتَكْتَفِي الرِّجَالِ بِالرِّجَالِ وَالنِّسَاء بِالنِّسَاءِ. Men will fulfill their desires with other men, and the women will fulfill their desires with other women. Same gender relationships. You find these situations. Are they prevalent within our community? Is there an active movement to make such sort of behaviors acceptable within our community?
A lot of breaking news here this morning. The breaking story just moments ago, the Supreme Court and this landmark ruling, the court making same-sex marriage legal in this country across every state in this nation.
MPs in Britain have voted in favour of legislation that will allow gay marriage.
A landmark decision, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that states cannot ban same-sex marriages.
If after reading these signs a person is still in doubt that the dhuhur of the Imam is imminent, he needs to wake up and she needs to wake up and truly look into these signs, because when you contemplate over them, you start to realize that you are at the core of a time where the dhuhur can happen sooner than later.
Protests in Syria are increasing in size and scope.
The most important story in the country. The name ISIS is one that every American knows by now. They are a brutal, savage group known for public beheadings and mass executions.
There will be simultaneous problems going on in Syria, Iraq, Egypt, Yemen, and some of the other countries. These will not settle until the 12th Imam al-Islam comes. We have seen problems in this world that have increased and that have existed, but we have not seen the political problems that we are seeing today at the same time and during the same period that we are seeing now.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says within the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 155, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within verse 155 of Surah Al-Baqarah shows us and tells us the avenues through which the mu'min and the mu'mina is going to be tested.
There is a tradition that says, Gharbal is, when you have flour or something like that, you want to clean it because there are some substances in it which are not part of the grains. So what you do is you move the net so that the good goes through and the remaining stones or other grains remain, are separated. That's called gharbal. So the 6th of Islam says that gharbaloon, even you, meaning the Shias, the followers of Ahlulbayt TV, you will go through a net, meaning you will be tried in belief, and many of you will not go through. You see my point? So they will remain, and only the purest will go through. So many of them will remain at the top of the net. He says that's not only just once, it will happen again and then again. At each trial, many will fail and remain. So it is not that every follower of Ahlulbayt TV will go through. Even followers of Ahlulbayt TV will fail.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we shall test you. Number one, with fear. The reason of this test is what? To determine who is a true believer or not. So within the ghaibah of the 12th Imam, Allah shall test us with fear. When you are confronted with a situation of fear, or when you are confronted with fear, do you submit to this fear and abandon your religion, or do you uphold your religion and overcome this fear?
A major world war will happen, like the other two world wars have been in Europe. This final world war has been emphasized the most upon, and this will be between Turks and the Europeans and Russia, and then it'll break out to be a world war, like the Second World War started between two countries, and it developed into becoming a war between 76 countries. Likewise, this final world war will start between some European countries and Turkey, and then it will grow to be a world war. The Holy Prophet ﷺ has said in one of the traditions, I think it's in a Sunni book, that the world's population will reach 7. He doesn't say 7 million, 7 what. But in recent years, in 3-4 years back, the world has reached 7 billion. So we're about 7.2 billion in the world, the Muslim, the world population. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that the world will reach 7, and every 5 out of those 7 will die before my son comes. 1/3 of the world's population will die in world war, and the other third will die in a plague. Plague is not only that illness which spreads through the rats and kills people straight away. Today the science believes that anything which is contagious and killers is plague. The war will be on the west of Iraq or Hijaz, and the plague will be on the eastern side, China, India. It will kill 1/3 of the world's population. Now, just in China and India, two countries put together, there are about 2.5 billion people. So that's 1/3 of the world's population. But obviously, if you see the rest of the countries, they make up a lot more. But there will be a plague in that part of the world.
The Ebola emergency here in America.
The killer virus.
Spreading much faster than efforts to contain it. Spiraling out of control.
Ebola cases in West Africa approach 9,000.
Hundreds of British troops are being sent to West Africa.
A small number of cases will reach the UK.
It will start off so many times, a pandemic or whatever you want to call it, and people will take precaution, and it will stop. And it will start so many times that people will now stop to believe that there will be a an epidemic or a pandemic, that an illness starts off and kills masses, like it has done in the past, in many times, in many centuries in the human history. But the tradition says that the last time it starts, no one will be taking any precaution, and it will kill huge numbers. To say 1/3 of the world's population, 2.5 billion people will die through this illness.
You shall be tested with your lives and with crop. So tested with your lives in that you find the dictators and the takfiris of the day and the enemies of Ali Muhammad and the Khawarij, they try to intimidate you and they try to derail you from your religion by threatening you with your lives, whether it is through suicide bombings or mass genocides.
Middle East will remain always to be the center of attention. Iraq, Hejaz, which is present-day Saudi Arabia, which I do not like to use, but Hejaz, Iraq, Palestine, Sham. The word Sham has been used, which is now 4 countries: Palestine, Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon. They will be center of attention. So there'll be a lot of problems. The problems will arise from Sham, which is basically the 4 countries, and many people believe that it is Palestine that has converted into Israel. That will be the center of attention, and then also in Syria, where Sufyan will come from. The economical situation will be one of the worst to be seen on the surface of the earth.
Breaking news here. Stocks all around the world are tanking because of the crisis on Wall Street.
The last couple of weeks have been the most turbulent period for the economy and the financial markets in living memory. And while banks have failed and shares have plummeted, the effects are working their way down to all of us.
There are traditions that many Europeans, the word Spain and Rome have appeared, but I think that they mean Europe. The economical situation in Europe will be such that human beings will be eating other human beings. So there will be, like the people are saying, that it is the worst time since the Great Depression. The situation will be worse than it has ever been.
This is a hadith by Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, where he says, إِذَا آنَ قِيَامَ الْمَهْدِي. The Imam uses one of the titles of the 12th Imam, where it is necessary that if we take the name of the Imam, we stand up. So we'll replace that with Mahdi. It says, إِذَا آنَ قِيَامَ الْمَهْدِي مَطَرَ النَّاسِ جَمَادِ الْآخِرَةِ وَعَشْرَةَ أَيَّامٍ مِنْ رَجَبٍ. He says that when the rising of the Mahdi is imminent in that year leading up to the Dhuhur, Shahrul Jamad Thani, and the first 10 days of Shahrul Rajab will be marked by heavy rainfall, heavy global rainfall for these 40 days.
Sent hundreds more U.S. Marines and Army Rangers to Syria as part of the final preps for the campaign to take back the de facto ISIS capital of Raqqa.
There will be many issues, problems. There will be a change in weather. The global warming, the concept, I'm not sure if that is along the same lines, but the traditions mention there will be winter in summer and summer in winter. You'll see a huge change in the climate.
You find that one of these greatest signs that the mu'min needs to be aware of that indicate the imminent dhuhur of the 12th Imam is that within the month of Jamad Thani and the month of Shahrul Rajab, the period of Raj'ah begins, where certain people are resurrected from the grave in order to be a part of the Ansar and the Ashab of the 12th Imam.
There will be many false claims of Mahdaviyyat. Mahdaviyyah is basically Messianism, or anyone who says that I'm Mahdi. There will be many false claims. In fact, some traditions mention how many false claims. And there'll be many groups and there'll be many divisions. Small, but there'll still be divisions. People who will falsely claim and people who will foolishly believe. And also people will develop their own ideologies. Many of the people who will claim to be fuqaha, meaning I'm a jurist, I'm a mujtahidan, will not be many. In fact, some of the worst people will be the people who will be claiming to be the leaders, religious leaders. So there'll be many false claims internationally that everyone will be claiming that I am a jurist, I'm a jurist, and they'll be some of the worst people on the surface of the earth. Every fitna will start from them, and every fitna will end at them.
العلامات القريبة من ظهور الإمام سلام الله عليه نستطيع أن نقول أنه تكوين إسرائيل علامة، لأنه الله عز وجل يقول فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة جئنا بكم لفيفة، جئنا بكم من أنحاء الأرض إلى مكان معين. ونستطيع أن نقول أنه هذه الحركة قيام أهل المشرق وقوم سلمان أيضا علامة، ما يجري في العراق علامة، الموجة السفيانية، الخط السفياني الناصبي المعادي لأهل البيت وشيعتهم، هذا أيضا علامة. هذه علامات كلها قبل ظهور الإمام سلام الله عليه. العلامات المنصوص أنها قبل ظهوره بسنة أو نحو ذلك، عندنا معركة قرقيسية. معركة قرقيسية معركة بين السفيانيين والأتراك. قرقيسيا بلد روماني قديم آثاره موجودة الآن، وهو قريب دير الزور والرقة في سوريا. فبين الأتراك والسفيانيين تكون معركة طويلة، وورد ذكرها حتى في التوراة والإنجيل، وورد أن الله عز وجل يعطيهم الصبر للطرفين ويمنع عنهم النصر، وتطول هذه المعركة. ثم تكون زلزلة وهزة قوية في سوريا. بعد الزلزلة تبدأ علامات السفياني. هذه الهزة فيها خسارات، فيها 100,000 قتيل، فيها خسف في الأرض، وبعد منها تبدأ علامات السفياني.
The most important are the last 6 months before the zuhur of the Imam alayhi salam. The month of Rajab is when the three big personalities reappear. Two are good and one is evil. The two good are Sayyid al-Khurasani. Many traditions mention that he is, our Sunni brothers have not said he's Sayyid, but they've mentioned there is a Khurasani. Most of our traditions mention that he is from the progeny of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and they've also called him Hassani, Khurasani or Hassani. Hassani is basically Khurasani. Khurasani meaning he'll come from Khurasan, he'll come from Mashhad. He will be a Sayyid, he'll be young, and he'll be, probably his surname will be something like Tabatabai or something.
السفياني تقريبا 7 أشهر قبل ظهور الإمام سلام الله عليه. السفياني إذا سيطر على سوريا، اليماني يسيطر على اليمن، واليماني وزير للإمام سلام الله عليه، هو يرسله ويلتف حوله أهل اليمن ويحكم اليمن. هذه 7 أشهر قبل ظهور الإمام سلام الله عليه. السفياني واليماني كلاهما في شهر رجب، أوله آخره، بس مذكور أنها في شهر رجب.
Sufyani is called Sufyani because he's from the progeny of Banu Umayyah or Abu Sufyan. Some say Marwan, but many say Sufyan, Abu Sufyan. He's the evil guy. He'll come from Syria, present-day Syria, around Wadi Yabis. So from close to Homs that you hear a lot in the news, and Halab. And he will take over those cities and then he'll establish it. He is very hard-hearted person. He's evil. His name will be Uthman. His name is Uthman ibn Ambasa, some say. And he will basically give a slogan that Uthman and his followers are the truth. So implying Sufyani is the righteous. His the flag he will show will be red. So many people say ISIS, but ISIS's flag is black, and their dress is also black, and their leader appeared from Iraq. So they are not the final or the last army before which Imam alayhi salam will reappear and fight against in Karbala. They are not the ones. But they are along the same lines. They are evil and they are anti-Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, but they are not the final army that the Imam alayhi salam will fight. Because the final Sufyani leader will be called Uthman and not Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. He'll be Uthman. And they will all appear in the same year, same month, and same day. Many traditions mention the same day.
السفياني واليماني في سنة زوجية، طبعا السنة هجرية، في سنة زوجية. الإمام المهدي سلام الله عليه يكون في سنة فردية بعده، السنة التي تليها سنة فردية. وتقول الرواية عن الإمام الصادق سلام الله عليه يعني سنة 9 أو 7 أو 5 أو 3، ويبدأ ب9. يقولون المرجح ما بدأ به الإمام لأنه بدأ ب9. وبعضهم يقول أنه 1439 تنطبق عليها الصفات. نحن نقول أمل، ما نستطيع أن نوقت، لكن الأمل لا بأس به، نأمل.
Traditions, unfortunately, are, when describing, are very descriptive of the mass killing of the Shias. Sufyani will kill any person called Ali, Hassan, Hussein, Ja'far, Musa, with all of those names, and even Muhammad, all the names of Ahlulbayt TV. Some even mention that he will rip the wombs of 400,000 women, that I will not allow any Shia child to be born. So he'll basically attack Iraq from Syria. And unfortunately, Iraq will remain the center of attention. He will establish a state, a government in Syria.
اليماني شخص معتمد عند الإمام من خاصة أصحابه، هو يرسله ليحكم اليمن ويكلفه. إذن اليماني وزير ومن الأصحاب الخاصين للإمام سلام الله عليه، وواجب الإطاعة على المؤمنين في العالم. 7 أشهر قبل ظهور الإمام يمتحن الشيعة باليماني، من يطيعه ومن لا يطيعه، والإمام يكون ظاهرا يراه الناس ويرجعهم إلى اليماني، وهو يتحرك يهيئ لظهور سلام الله عليه، يتحرك في البلاد ويراه الناس ويرجع إلى اليماني.
Yamani will be the most righteous, some traditions mention. He will not be a Sayyid, but his name will be unknown to the people. His entire movement will be underground, and his flag will be white. And Khorasani's flag will be black. He'll be Sayyid, and there'll be 2 major people from Iran at the time, from Khorasan. They will revive a state in Iran. Khorasani, his name has not been mentioned, will be Sayyid Hassani. And Shu'aib bin Saleh will be the army leader, his army.
عندنا من علامات الإمام سلام الله عليه أنه يكون خسوف للقمر وكسوف للشمس في غير موعده. مثلا القمر يخسف 13 و14 و15، هذا يخسف في أوله. الشمس كذلك تكسف الشمس، خسوف للقمر في أواخر الشهر لا في أوائله، وهذا وارد عندنا أيضا نار في شرقي الحجاز تدوم 7 أيام، هذه قريب ظهور الإمام سلام الله عليه. من رجب إلى محرم في السنة التالية حوالي 7 أشهر. في هذه 7 أشهر تحدث يكون النداء السماوي في شهر رمضان. النداء السماوي نداء باسم الإمام سلام الله عليه بلغات العالم. جبرائيل من فوق الكعبة ينادي بعدة لغات عالمية: أيها الناس كفاكم ظلما، هذا المهدي جاءكم فبايعوه سلام الله عليه. وفي رواية أنه في ليلة الجمعة ليلة 23 من شهر رمضان.
Sayha is like a scream that everyone will hear in their own language in the night, in Laylatul Qadr, and that will openly disclose that this is Laylatul Qadr. But during the day, Dajjal will say that the last night's announcement was wrong and my announcement is the correct, or Sufyani, or the evil. And many people, everyone will believe the previous night's announcement, but once the false announcement has been made, many will convert to the new one. Many traditions mention that at the night, Ali wa Shi'atuhu humul faizun, or Ali wa Shi'atuhu, Ali and his Shias are the ones who are the righteous. At night, once they say Ja'al Haqqa, they will say that Ali and his followers are on the righteous. And the next day, the announcement will be that Uthman and his followers are the righteous. His announcement will be. Now, Uthman is basically Sufyani, that they are pointing to, and Ali and his followers meaning the Shia, meaning the followers of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, because he is known through his 2 grandfathers, like the Holy Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam. Many will die after hearing the scream. It will be so loud. Many will die because of the fright it will create. The believers will be stronger in their faith, and this will strengthen them even more. But there will be many, many problems during that time.
النفس الزكية التي هي علامة الإمام سلام الله عليه، شاب صغير السن، يعني دون 20 أو حوالي 20، حسني، يرسله الإمام سلام الله عليه في مكة ليبلغ رسالته لأهل مكة، يبعث إلى المسجد الحرام يقرأ الرسالة من تريبون إمام الجماعة، فيقتلونه بين الركن والمقام. وهذا ليس بينه وبين ظهور الإمام سلام الله عليه إلا 15 ليلة، يعني أسبوعين قبل ظهور الإمام سلام الله عليه. فإذا قتلوه لم يبق لهم في الأرض عاذر ولا في السماء ناصر.
Nafs Zakiyya will not be just a pure soul and no one knows him. He'll be a known personality. He'll be probably most likely a political figure who is not very old, not very young, but he is not middle-aged. So he's young, fairly young, who will be an important personality, a scholar, a pure soul, who goes on to Hajj, and he'll be murdered there. So he'll be a shahadat, and he's a very important personality.
We have that the appearance of the 12th Imam, which will happen 15 nights after the massacre of Nafs Zakiyya. Nafs al-Zakiyya being an individual, an emissary and a representative who is sent out by Imam al-Hujjah to the world to announce his coming, in the same way that Sayyid al-Shuhada sent out Muslim bin Aqil. You find Imam al-Hujjah sends out Nafs al-Zakiyya, and Nafs al-Zakiyya is martyred. In fact, he is slaughtered within the Haram al-Sharif, between the Maqam Ibrahim and the Hajar al-Aswad, for inviting people towards the Mahdi. The hadith says 15 nights from there, on the day of Ashura, you find that the Imam comes forward, makes himself apparent in Mecca by the Kaaba, and declares this global announcement that he is the awaited Mahdi, and invites people to embark upon this divine journey and this divine mission of filling the entire earth with peace and justice.
The traditions say that the Imam al-Islam will come from Mecca, and he will appear on the 10th of Muharram. That will coincide with some sort of worldly celebration, and a lot of the people will not be commemorating the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, but they will be celebrating, which Imam will be not so happy about. He will establish his state, and the 313 will come and pay allegiance to him, and a lot of the people in Mecca will pay allegiance to him, but a lot of the people would want to kill him. So he will stop everyone, he'll fight, and then he'll establish his state.
The hadith says that when he reappears, وَرُوِيَ أَنَّ الْإِمَامَ الْمَهْدِي يَسْنِدْ ظَهْرَهُ إِلَى الْبَيْتِ الْحَرَامِ مُسْتَجِيرًا بِهِ ثُمَّ يَبْتَدِي خُطْبَتَهُ التَّارِيخِيَّةِ. The Imam will stand against the Kaaba, his back towards the Kaaba, and then he's going to address the people in a manner which perhaps is the most eloquent of manners, and a part of his khutbah is that Imam al-Hujjah shall cry out, Ayyuhan nas, inna nastansirullah wa man ahabba wa man ajabana minan nas, fa inna Ahlulbayt nabiyyikum Muhammad, wa nahnu awla nas billahi wa bi Muhammad, فَمَنْ حَاجَّنِي فِي آدَمْ فَأَنَا أَوْلَى النَّاسِ بِآدَمْ. Imam al-Hujjah will cry out, O people, who is there who is going to help Allah by helping us? Indeed, we are the family and the progeny of this Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
جيش السفياني القوة التي يرسلها لحفظ الأمن في المدينة يطلب منهم اذهبوا إلى مكة، هذا ظهر المهدي، وروح إلى مكة للقضاء عليه. هذا بعد عاشوراء، بعد ظهور الإمام. يتحرك هذه القوات من المدينة حتى إذا تحركت حوالي 50 كيلومتر ووصلت إلى البيداء الصحراء خسف بهم. هذا يسمى جيش الخسف، ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وقف في ذلك المكان وقال هنا يخسف بهم، ويعود ولدي في البيت ويقصده جيش للسفياني ويخسف بهم ها هنا. ونزلت فيهم الآية وهي قوله تعالى ولو ترى إذ فزعوا فلا فوت وأخذوا من مكان قريب.
A man has emerged from among the Syrian insurgency, launching a vicious attack upon cities surrounding the Jordanian-Syrian border. He began his onslaught from the valleys of Jordan before advancing north towards Syria, in sort of seizing the Syrian capital of Damascus.
A bloody afternoon at Islam's holiest site. A man was attacked and brutally murdered inside the Grand Mosque in Mecca. chaos broke out as millions of pilgrims performing the annual Hajj pilgrimage were halted while circulating the Kaaba.
Irregular weather has been reported in the western region of the Arabian Peninsula, with images coming through of a sweeping sandstorm engulfing vast swathes of the desert. Secondary reports indicate that a paramilitary force who were en route to Mecca encountered the violent winds and have since gone missing.
We have some breaking news coming into CNN right now. Apparently, thousands of Muslims are heading towards Mecca, Islam's holiest city, after a man has emerged announcing himself as the promised Messiah. Scenes of euphoria and celebration are being seen in cities across the world, as Muslims refer to this as the arrival of Mahdi, claiming him to be the savior of mankind.